told him that you are more familiar with that area, maybe some other people. That guy over here is he's from Munich, so you can give him here a guide through Stuttgart.
Er hat in der Vergangenheit schon für Stuttgart gecoacht als Head Coach. Er ist der einzige Coach in der Stuttgarter Geschichte.
You know, you're the only head coach which was able to go to the German Bowl with Scotland. But you know, there's only one other head coach in the past which one has won more season games, regular season games than you.
I don't care.
That's
why I don't care.
Und Tom Ross coacht auch mit Joe Austin bei den Southwestern Pirates. Die haben schon in der Vergangenheit in Augsburg gecoacht am Augsburg College. He was coaching together at Augsburg College. Dann waren sie in Hannover, nicht das deutsche Hannover. Where is Hanover? It's in Indiana, right?
Yes, yeah, by Louisville.
Bei Louisville.
Ja.
Dort waren sie auch an einem Third Division College und jetzt sind sie, wie gesagt, seit einigen Jahren in Georgetown, Texas, wo es schön warm ist. Wisst ihr, was das erste war, wo er hier ankam am Flughafen am Freitag? Scheiße, ist hier kalt.
you told me it was cold. So.
Texas, how warm is it at the moment in Texas?
20 degrees.
Oh, degrees?
Yeah.
Scheiße.
Not far. 75.
Yeah. Okay, also gut. Have fun, have a
Dankeschön.
Also gut.
All right, well, so I've been introduced, that's good. So yeah, I've been in Stuttgart, and I was here for 4 years, and it was a great time. I love coaching in Germany, it's so much fun. I actually like coaching here better than I do that. And there's a number of reasons why. It's because our guys that make the choice here to get into football really love it, don't they? It's a sport you guys really like, and as a result, it's something I really like to do. I'm going to go over a red zone defense, but as I do, I want to give you a history of how our team evolved from what we did in Stuttgart and other schools to where it is now. Because where it is now, as you've seen Coach Kriesel talk about, right? Our defense in itself is a red zone defense. We don't really have to change inside the 5-yard line much because we're already a man-to-man blitzing team, right? And so as a result, I'm going to kind of show you how it evolved from that and also how you can evolve back to a zone type defense if you guys are more zone orientated, and I think a lot of us are, right? We don't have enough guys sometimes to play a lot of man-to-man, do we? So zone might be a better option, but you can run our same offense in zone. So I'll show you kind of how that worked, how we became that way. But within our defense, everything starts with skill sets, and Coach Kriesel went over this a little yesterday, and I'll just go back over it so you kind of understand where we're going. But where I say skill sets, that's where we work our individuals. And when I was at Stuttgart, we spent at least half of our practice in individual skills working on these things. And so when I talk about learning how to do these certain skills, it can be done here because we did it here. And so understand that these are things you want to stress and make sure you get taken care of, because one of the aspects of defense that is really important is that you can play really good defense if you know what you're doing skill-wise. And from a team concept, if you know what you're doing, you won't get out of the offense's way. More big plays happen on offense because literally the defense will get out of their way and create holes. We never get out of anybody's way. We try to get in their way. It's kind of a nice way to go. But we start with basics, even with guys that have been playing for 10, 15 years. We'll start with stances and starts. And we won't take it for granted. We are going to practice that. And these are everyday drills that we will do in our individual skills so that we make sure we master these skills and get really good at them. So stance and start. Stance first step, aiming points, because we are an engagement team. Coach Kriesel talked about our 2 techniques, right? Our D tackles. Every down, our D tackles step and engage the guard. We don't care if the guard wants to block us or not. We're going to go get him. And by doing so, we win the line of scrimmage. And we also are good at doing things like reading screens because our focus is on the guard, not on the ball so much. And it works out very good for us. And it works out for a team in Germany too because it teaches guys to focus on what they really should be focusing on. We don't work a lot on disengaging because if you win the battle of engagement, getting off blocks is a lot easier. But our base in disengagement is dip and rip. Why is it dip and rip? Well, because it's a natural low man wins type thing. If you swim, you're high, correct? If you dip and rip, you're low. So that helps us fit exactly what we're doing so that we're here and there. We don't teach a lot of different things because I've had coaches come in and want to teach, okay, now we're going to teach the swim move. Now we're going to teach the spin move. Now we're going to teach this. And so you're teaching them to do like 5 different things, right? So when he gets in a game, guess what he does? Nothing. He gets stuck like, oh yeah. But if you teach them to do one thing really, really well, they'll do that thing really, really well. So that's our concept. Teach them to do one thing really well. And when they master that, they've got it down, now move to the next thing. Because then they might have a counter move to that. Because if you get really good at a dip and rip, what's the offensive lineman going to do? He's going to overcompensate, and then that'll create a counter move for you. And you'll learn to feel it naturally most of the time. So that's the one thing we really work hard on doing. We've talked about leveraging the ball a lot, right? And that's a big thing for us too because leveraging the ball means everything. So when I was showing kickoffs, when we were showing defense, you saw some missed tackles. Missed tackles aren't bad if you miss them to the right side. So if you miss the tackle, make sure you're missing them where your friend's coming, and he's going to clean up for you. You can't miss a tackle where there's nobody there. That's leveraging the ball. So make sure you know where to go. But we practiced this at Stuttgart a lot. So we did our gap drill where we have cones or something. Our D tackles would run across the line of scrimmage, and we'd have a ball go. And that D tackle knew that the ball must go outside. It cannot go inside of me. So we practiced that every day. So when we got in the game and he came across the line of scrimmage, he would know that he would have to make sure the ball would go outside. It's just one thing he did. So we would never have we would have mistakes, but rarely have mistakes where he'd go out and contain the ball and the guy would cut back on him, right? Cutbacks are big plays. We wouldn't let that happen. So we practiced leveraging the ball in a number of different drills. Finish was the big thing. Remember what I said this morning? I said we were at no brakes, all gas pedal. The play really starts when you get there. We finish. Boom. Let's go. Hit the gas pedal and finish. That's a huge aspect of our game. For a D lineman, start cue, never off sides. Well, it's easy to say don't ever jump off sides, right? But we practice it. So we have that ball on a stick, you know? Every drill we do, we sit there and bark out signals, try to get the guy to jump. And then we move the ball, our drill's on. So at Hanover, my last year of teaching, our D coordinator at Hanover in college, we went the entire season without one offsides. That's really good, you know, because quarterbacks get out there and they cheat too. They don't bob their head, but they'll yell and get you offside. Not one offsides, because we sat there in every drill we did, it was try to get you guys to jump, and then we added that to every drill. We were really good at that. So then that's good. Communication, understand if someone gives you a call. Do you remember Coach Kriesel talked about a RAM call, right? For a DN, he might be out in a 5 technique. A RAM call tells him he needs to go to the B gap on a RAM, and that he's got to be able to hear it and communicate that he's got it. Communication is really important for us. Pass rush lanes, engagement for tackles, face up. Always teach tackling. Not only because you want to tackle correctly, but you want to be safe. So whenever you're talking about tackling people, blocking, always mention face up. In America, where they like to sue people a lot, right? I've got to tell people, face up. Keep your head up. Otherwise, if someone hurts themselves and comes back, it's like, did you teach them to have your head up? And I said, oh yeah, it's right here, right on my page, see? And they see this, and we go over it 18 times, so we're good on that. Agility and strength. Linebackers, same thing. We have all kinds of drills. These were our individual drills every day. And I don't know about you guys, but at Stuttgart, our guys always showed up for practice. We did a great job. And winning helps, doesn't it? When you start winning, people show up. But it's kind of a catch for that. You know, if you start getting serious about individual skills, you're going to start winning more. And then, as a result, you're going to get more kids to practice, and they're going to enjoy it too. And same thing with D-backs, of course. They have their skills to do. So these are very important. Now, the history behind our defense is this. You saw our man-to-man defense that Coach Kreisel was putting up. We ran the exact same defense at Stuttgart, except we were a zone team. We weren't the man-to-man team. So we adjusted accordingly with our zone. And I'll tell you why we went to man-to-man as we go forward here, but that has a lot to do with how we play now. But we were a zone-based defense, and then we switched man-to-man based pressure defense. And that pressure defense also doubles as short yardage, what I'm going to be talking about, our red zone defense. And our red zone's based on alignment adjustments. For instance, we're already in double twos at our A-gap tackles, right? We don't have to adjust much. Especially now that teams are always in the shotgun. You don't really have a fast A-gap threat, do you? Because they're in a shotgun, the quarterback's back and everything else. So we can stay in our two techniques. We can stay in our 5 or our wide techniques with our ends and play B-gap with our linebackers in short yardage yet. Now, if they come up under center, we have the ability to put our 2 techniques to 1 techniques and our 5 techniques to 4 techniques, just on one little call. So it makes it easy when we go under center, and it doesn't change a thing we do. And so our technique adjustments and our blitzes will take care of all our short yardage things that we do without changing the concept of our defense at all. So it makes it very easy for us not to make mistakes and get out of the offense's way. So, and then our defense now, because it's man-to-man, allows us to match up with personnel. So if they bring an H-back onto the field, we can bring an extra linebacker or whatever onto the field. When they come off, we can take them off and put that D-back back on. Because you know when they switch, we have the ability to switch with them and have time to, because they'll hold the game up, right? That's one thing I really like about the GFL is we use NCAA rules here. It's the best rules in football. Much better than NFL rules, much better than high school rules. They're great. We're lucky about that. And finally here, let's not get out of the offense's way. Let's get in their way. Okay? If we get out of their way, it's easy touchdowns. So we don't want to do that. At Stuttgart, running our defense, this is where we ended up here for the season. And this is 2007, I believe. And we were second in the league in scoring defense behind Berlin. But within the South, of course, we were the best defense in these categories. Rushing defense, we gave up 72 yards a game rushing. And these are all northern teams up here, of course. So in the South, we were really good. And then total defense, we gave up 224 yards a game, which was pretty good. And Schillerschall was next in that category, so they did a good job themselves. So that was really good. And we did it with this. Back then we called it Bama, short for Alabama. Of course, you guys know what Bama means. You watch them all the time, I'm sure now. But this is the defense we run right now, but our base coverage was cover 2, as opposed to cover 0. And all we had to do there was basically widen out our linebackers, right? And make sure we split the difference here and split the difference here, and we have cover 2 corners and 2 safeties. Worked out great. It didn't hurt that we had like the best middle linebacker in Germany either, of course. Jason Scott was pretty good. And so this enabled him to control the inside pretty well, and he did a great job. And it also was very helpful that we had 2 corners that were fantastic. Hassan Rashid was here, and then Jeff Carpenter was here to start the year. And when we had those 2 guys, we were able to take these outside backers and play them tight to the line of scrimmage, right? Because if they wanted to bubble, go ahead, block Jeff. Good luck with that, right? They couldn't do it. So these 2 guys controlled the bubble game basically by themselves. so that we could play the run inside with these guys. Now, second game of the year, Jeff hurt his knee and he was out for the year. So we were kind of out of balance. We had Hassan, we tried to put him to the, as Coach Kriesel said, one of our corners now, we tried to put him into the action side of things. But the other side wasn't as good, so what we had to do is widen our linebackers to help out with the passing game more. And that didn't work out real well for us, as well as it did with Jeff there. So as a result, our run defense, even though we only gave up 72 yards a game, it wasn't as good as it was before. You couldn't run on us. And that was the thing. So we got to that point with that. Now within that defense, you see we have our cover 2 drops here. It's an easy thing to put in and get going for us in that situation. Even with the RPOs going on right now, if I were to come back to Germany right now, I would go back to this, I think. And what I would do is I would take corners and I would put 2 American corners right here. Because these inside 9 guys, we can find really good German players to handle those positions. D-line, you can find great D-linemen in Germany. You can find really good linebackers in Germany. You can find good safeties in Germany. But corners, man, they're tough to find. Why? Because you kind of didn't grow up with it, did you? Like our guys grow up from 7th grade. Our corners might have played soccer until 18, 19. And it takes a little longer to get that technique and physical aspect into your system where, as I pointed out before, I had those corners. Not only were they good physical or good cover guys, but they were so physical, they were tough to move. So as a result, we were able to really cover a lot of things with those things. And Coach Kriesel went over his blitz package this morning. And we were able to do the same blitzes out of our zone, but then we match up right off the snap of the ball. So we're showing cover 2, and then on the snap of the ball, we're jumping to our coverage, right? So we're playing man-to-man from off rather than on line of scrimmage, but we're disguising it. We might show cover 4 where this safety's more on top of them so that we can cover them faster, but it was disguise blitzing it rather than the other situation. And then we had goal line packages. Well, our goal for goal line was basically reducing our ends and widening our linebackers and going to man-to-man. That was our goal. So when we got down to the goal line, we just say we're in man-to-man and we would cover these gaps. And then Alamo, because it's an A gap, tells our tackles to go to A gap. And that automatically puts these guys in 4 techniques on the outside so that we can penetrate and go. And this was our Stuttgart defense at that point. Now, when we got to, when we were at Hanover, we ran that same defense throughout the 4 years we were there. And we got to number 1 in our conference in that too, just running those same defense. And what you saw there was almost all we ran. We go to high schools. I remember coaching Coach Kriesel in college, and his high school ran like 10 coverages more than we did, didn't they? You had 12 coverages, right?
Yeah.
We had 3. And he says, Coach, in high school we ran 12 coverages and we didn't run any of them good. And I said, but we're going to run 3 and we're going to run them all really well. So that's kind of our whole deal on that. But Spartan 0 came up where we started going on the line of scrimmage and jamming people when we started getting RPO'd a lot at Southwestern. And that, Coach Kriesel's already gone off over what that offered us in terms of being able to put pressure on people yet covering them. So what it allowed us to do is off their zone read stuff, it allowed us to have an extra man for them to block, so it loosened our ends to where they could go basically right to the quarterback. So there was no option. He was going to hand the ball off for sure. And if he didn't, we were going to hit him right away. So we were telling, by going to Spartan, and they go to their zone right up here, we were telling this guy, he said, the only option you have is to hand the ball off. Everybody else knows that that ball is going to be handed off. What did I just do? Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I'm so stupid about these things. Okay, from the beginning. There we go. There's Spartan. So this allowed us to take options away from everything. And as a byproduct of that, what happened was, because we were such a high pressure defense now, we're coming after you. Look, we've got 7 guys in the box against basically their 7, right? We're gonna play downhill as you can play. As a result of this, that turned into our goal line defense also. I went back to hear what our goal line was. This is nothing different than this, really. So we're already in goal line, out on the field. You play it every down. Now there's different aspects to that, and then we have Tennessee. Remember Tennessee, we used to have him off the ball on a cover 2 look and jump it. Now we're already lined up into it. Here comes our base blitzes. And our base blitzes are simple. You blitz from here, you blitz to your primary gap, which is B gap for this guy, right? Now we're putting all kinds of pressure on, and we're getting great penetration. Our deep tackles are already A-gap players, but we play through this garb really hard. We want to buckle this line of scrimmage right here, so these guys have all this freedom to move. And we get good push out of it, because our deep tackles are one-dimensional. We're bull rushers. We're going. We're going to buckle that line of scrimmage and then get it going. And then here comes our ends right there. So the key for this on these 2 things is to make sure that even though we're coming with force and with a lot of 7 guys, we want to come at different levels. So our D tackles are the first level, right? They're the first line in. Our DNs are the second line in. The third line is our backers, and then our Mike backers right behind it. So we're not one wave of line coming in, we're about 4 different waves. So if you break the first wave, here comes the second. If you break the second, here comes the third. That's kind of important for defense. You know, when you're out on the field and you come in one wave, you know, everybody's even, a gap 8 type thing. If you break that gap 8, no one's behind it, right? You're gone. So we come more in waves, 1, 2, 3 waves, which helps you cover up for people. They break this first wave of D tackles, they gotta get by these guys. They break those guys, they gotta get back by these guys, and then so on and so forth. So it's a wave thing. But now, when we go into Tennessee, it's more of a one-wave situation. These guys are kind of on the same level now, but it's a blitz situation. For us, it's a run blitz. It's not so much of a pass blitz, it's a run blitz. We do it to stuff the run. And then if they pass, because our ends are in go techniques generally, we're looking to sack the quarterback. So quarterback doesn't have a lot of time. We're bringing essentially 7 guys against their 6-man protection all the time. So it allows us to make sure he gets it off quickly. And so we have a good opportunity to get after it as a result. Now, the difference between goal line and out on the field, I said this is a good goal line defense, but out on the field, the difference is by the goal line is we have a goal line telling us where they're going to throw. So these guys are really anticipating the goal line so that if they do anything around the goal line, we can jump the route really hard, right? So we have an opportunity to intercept and do something really good with it. And that's kind of how that works for us. But essentially what we do now is, off of those things, is we go back to these goal line alignments that I had before. Here we go. So if we want to do this in our Spartan defense with man-to-man, it's easy to go to 2 techniques and 2-5 techniques. If they come under center, we just give an Alamo call. These guys go to A-gap, these guys go to here, and we're already into our man-to-man stuff. Nothing changes. So this is like Indiana now, where these guys are going to be coming off the outside and got them filling inside. So it's very easy. So within our short yardage defense, it really turns out we don't have to change personnel. We don't have to. We can, but we don't have to. Our techniques are going to change a little bit based on our short yardage. We're going to come off lower and we're going to get penetration as opposed to our base technique. But we don't have to change a thing in terms of our leverage points. They're already built into our defense. So it makes it easy for us to stay aggressive. Then it also allows our linebackers to be off the ball, to get off on great downhill angles. So we don't even want to play real tight with our linebackers down there. We want to be able to come off the ball and be able for that Mike backer to get here and then to get on all sides of the ball. So it helps out in pursuit too. So that gives you kind of an idea of our philosophy on that. But with spread football now, it's not like back when everybody was under center, right? And then you had to really pack it in. Now you still have to stay vertical to the spread stuff, but at the same time, you need to buckle the inside to make sure the ball pushes out. And our base defense takes care of that. So make sure that these inside players are good A-gap players in that regard. I'm going to save that. Okay, so now, this is kind of what it looks like for us in terms of some of our stuff. And as you can see right now, as we go back here, we're kind of in our base defense. We're going double twos, and we're still standing up. They're on the 5-yard line, but because they're in shotgun, we don't have a quick A-gap threat, do we? So I think we're going to run Spartan here. We're not even blitzing, but watch our reaction by our linebackers. Everything for us kind of looks like a blitz because we play so downhill that we go after it. And that gets a lot of guys to the ball. Now we get to see a game. Oh, they started this one late, but here you see a good opportunity to see a mistake. See, our backside linebacker overruns this, and you'll see it from the end zone where I'd like to show when we screw up too, because what's going on? This has been going great. It won't take a second. Oh, I was probably tired. I'm sorry. Who's got their phones on? There we go. Let's get that. Let's get to the good stuff. And here's the 2 touchdowns we gave up inside the red zone. We didn't give up very many, but these are mistakes just based on guys not switching off. See number 22, our really good guy? Nobody knows why he was lined up over here. He kind of did that on his own. He should be inside because his man is right, the guy that goes in motion. And so because he went the opposite way, he's late and doesn't get to the play. It's like, oh shit. And that's bad defense. Of course, 21, who doesn't want to tackle anybody anyway? That's part of the game. But he can cover you. So they're on the 2.5-yard line, and we're still in our base defense, which is okay because we're going to attack downhill. Good grief! This happened to you again?
Yeah. I downloaded all my clips.
I know. I tried to do it. I don't have a download. I think they got me on a student account here. They're trying to tell me something, I think. It's like, you don't have the soft authority to do this. Now it's really frozen. Okay, let's go. I also hate when guys do this. We don't do it on our offense because I hate it. Even now that I'm on offense, I can't wait that long. I'm ADD, I can't sit there and watch guys look back at the sideline. There it is. I bet we tackle him though. This happened yesterday all day, didn't it? Okay. Here they go again. Excuse me. Okay, this one's going. Got lucky on that one, but you can see that pressure is built right into our defense here. And he should have broke underneath that anyway. But we're still in our base defense. And then we're looking to the sideline again. I'm afraid to fast forward, it'll slow down.
Ich auch mit Coach. Oh, was ist das denn? Ja, was ist das?
This is a good pick play here for us, but our corner does a really bad job of not even trying to fight through it. But they were good about doing these things. Number one should have broken right to the throwing lane here, and he doesn't. He breaks flat to the ball. And these are good illustrations because this is the one team that hit us up on goal line pretty well. They cheat. All right, good. Let's see if I can go to the other one. Apologize. Okay. It might be faster. Well, I'm gonna find that. Where did he do with it? Okay, let's try that again now. Oh, good grief. Okay, guys, let's take like a 2-minute break. This is even worse than it was before. I'm glad you guys are patient. You're better than I am. Okay, let's go there. Now we're back at the beginning here. Now, these are better illustrations of pass defense the way they should happen because we're actually playing the inside on them here. You can see we drive on the ball and do a good job. You guys, I don't know why they wanted interference on that.
Ja, auf welche Leitung ist er drauf? Wegen dem Internet.
It went slow again all of a sudden.
It's about your age, you know. Umso älter du wirst, umso langsamer wird das Internet mit übersetzt. Übersetzt, ne?
Oh, hard copy. Very nice. That's okay, we'll get it. You know, sudden change. It's freezing right there again. That's where it froze on the other one too, didn't it? Oh good, we got technology. Get the old guy out of the way.
Sir, my question?
Yes.
While
Good.
we're waiting, I saw you most of the time traveling with the motion.
Mhm.
Is that a game plan decision or?
Yeah, both. There's
Generally.
times where we kind of feel like they're just trying to get us out of the way. And so we'll do that. At times we'll bump,
Yeah.
but because we're man to man, we tend to just want to stay with it. Rather than having a communication problem, we're more concerned with just making sure we know we're exactly where we should be. Like bad things can happen. Like I showed you with number 22, the corner, lining up on that one side. I don't know why, but he did. And then so you want to kind of keep those things to a minimum so that you don't screw up much. Like That was one of the cases where I said, never get out of the offense's way. We got out of their way, didn't we? Because we didn't cover it correctly. And that's kind of a stupid way to play by doing those things. So, yeah. Now, if we're in a zone, we'll bump over. So we can play zone. We can play this. We can play short yardage defense like this and stay in a cover 4, right? And just sit on the goal line and just stay at home. We don't have to be a man. But when you get down to the goal line, why not play man-to-man? Because what are they going to do, beat you? Not a big deal. It's probably better maybe to put more pressure on and create a big play, because that's worse for them than it is for you. Our best goal line defense is never let them get it down there in the first place. Awesome, this is working. Thank you.
No problem.
Like I said, it froze again.
Yeah, but you get connection now.
Okay. Now, as I mentioned before, when you're down on the goal line, be sure that your guys are anticipating basically what would be hot routes, so that you can jump them just like this and create big plays. We had too many times where our guy will drop 3 yards into the end zone and they'll stop on the goal line and throw it right on the goal line. It's like, what are you protecting? Protect the goal line. Just like we should be protecting down markers. It's the same thing. This isn't going anywhere.
There was no playlist. When you go back to the huddle, there have no
Yeah.
playlist, they have no next play.
There should be. Okay.
There's only 2. You see,
What happened to it? That's the problem. I gotcha. We don't have this on anymore, do we?
There it goes.
Thanks, I'm glad you guys know huddle. So here's a good example of, if this were Stuttgart here, number 1 is Jason Scott filling. He's reading here. If he back blocks, he's filling right now. And then we have B-gap players. He's going to get a guard pull, so he should come over with that. Let's see if he does. Even if we're blitzing, he's still reading his guard. There he goes, right? See that? He's hitting the A-gap right away. He should run right through it. And we're hitting a lot of people at the point of attack. And I don't know if it went down on a knee on that one. Let's watch that from the end zone. Not great tackle. So with the Scorpions here, guys, we still, wrong way, we would still practice that outside linebacker reading that guard every day, so that we get our pulls and our reaction reads to that. So it would have looked exactly, with the Scorpions, it would have looked exactly the same as this. We played downhill like this, attacking from different lanes. Good pressure. Saw these ones already. Oh, good, we get to see the review on this. Thank you. There you go. Now this is a pretty bad mistake for our outside linebacker, number 45. You can see that he gets this linebacker right here, gets a guard pull and he overruns it. He loses his inside out leverage. As you can see, when he goes, he's got a very nice lane to hit. So that when that guy pulls, he should be hitting right through there. and he ends up overrunning it. And then where's the running back going to go? Where there's a hole. Linebackers better fill that hole, otherwise bad things like that happen. Now they're on the 1 foot line, and because they're in shotgun, we can kind of stay in our base look. But we're playing downhill, as you can see, and getting through. And here's that swing pass where we didn't line right to it. Never get out of the offense's way. That's a waste of time. And this we got lucky. He should run underneath that. Why run behind the receiver in the end zone? You know what I mean? Hey, what are you doing? That was illegal. Okay, let's get off of this team. I hate watching them do that. Okay, we're back to where we were, aren't we? Gosh. Good lane hit. They're throwing slants on us. Down by the goal line. What a surprise, right? Doing a good job of playing through it. Now these guys found out they couldn't run on us down here, so they're throwing. And because we're in a defense where we're always going to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. No matter if we're in a run defense, we're still able to do it because we're outnumbering them at the point of attack, being in cover 0. And I don't know about you guys, but we get a lot of teams passing the ball still down on the goal line on us. Nice undercuts. So from a defensive back point, when you guys are in goal line, undercut the ball. You can get 100-yard interceptions half the time. This is a good job by our defensive back getting underneath it. Bad wide receiver play, but hey, it happens. Hey, we got a rub route. That was the same one. Okay, here we go. Here's that number 1 again. Looks kind of like the same thing, but this is actually a different play. Oh, it is the same play. Okay, did it go back to the beginning? Okay, I'll go to my next one now. Sorry about that. I'm glad it's working good, though. It wasn't that, it was me. Didn't I just do this? Coach Austin did another. Okay, I get it. There we go. Nice defensive backfield play. So this corner out here, he knows where the goal line is. So he's going to drive and protect it. He does a good job of getting underneath it. Very good.
Oh, 2 minutes?
Good. This video is driving me nuts. Okay, that gives you an idea. But let's get back to the priorities of what's going on. We're able to play short yardage defense with our base defense, which allows us to not have personnel problems. It allows us to know exactly where we need to push the ball and leverage the ball. So we make very few mistakes as a result on that. We still make mistakes like undercutting versus not undercutting. We still make some leverage mistakes, but very few. Because our philosophy defensively, as well as putting pressure on, is don't get out of the offense's way, and you can have a lot of success doing that, okay? Cool.
Thank you.